Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Brian Scribner, and I am the Executive Director for SMACUS Ambulance Service, which is your ambulance service. SMACUS is actually owned and operated by the communities it serves, so it's a very unique model. We have all kinds of ambulance service models out here, but ours is that the community makes up a board of directors that I report to, and that board of directors are leaders within the community that come and make sure that I'm doing a good job and I'm making sure everybody else is doing a good job. As a result, you all have great ambulance service. So I have a few things that I came prepared to talk about. Actually, I can talk about anything for hours, so if there's anything you really want to know after I'm done with this, please ask me questions. I'll be happy to share or answer all of them to the best of my ability. But we'll start out with the SMACUS membership. I want to tell you about a program we have. We've had this for a number of years, and we try to promote it, but honestly, every time we bring it up, people say, I've never heard of that. It's been thousands of dollars trying to tell people, and for some reason the message doesn't reach. So this is the best way for me to do it. The SMACUS membership is a program where you spend $45 per year per household. So you and everybody else that lives in your household that's on your dependents list when you file your taxes, basically is the best way to figure it out. I do make some exceptions. If somebody's truly dependent on you and you're living with them, I don't care if you file your taxes. So it's per household, $45 a year. And what it does for you, first and foremost, is it prevents you from having out-of-pocket ambulance transport expenses. So when we transport you to the hospital, if you ever need us, we will bill your insurance. And then, like for instance with Medicare, Medicare will pay the amount that they say, or they'll tell us the amount that we're entitled to. They tell us how much we're going to get paid. And then they pay 80% of that, and they require that we bill you 20% of it. With this membership, though, they've said we can make an exception and we can waive that 20% fee. And most insurances do something along those lines. So we bill your insurance, we waive all deductibles. The other thing that it does, folks will occasionally fall and have trouble getting back up. They'll call an ambulance out to their house to lift them, get them situated. Those normally cost about $155 for one of those trips. We waive all of those fees. If you're a member at SMACUS, we will come and lift you up and get you back in a chair comfortably if you're not hurt, or take you to the hospital if you are. So that's another great benefit of the program. In addition to that, it does give you a discount on wheelchair van service and also treat-in-place services. Treat-in-place services, for some reason, insurance will not pay for those. If we come to your house and, let me think of an example, a diabetic patient is having an insulin reaction, and we give them some sugar and we wake them up, and they're like, gee, I really don't need to go to the hospital, I just need to eat some protein and get my body regulated again and then talk to my doctor tomorrow, but I don't need an emergency department. Insurance won't pay for those. They'll only pay if you are transported to a hospital. So with those treatment in place calls, normally we'll connect you with the physician in the emergency department. We'll talk about what's the right decision for you, and we'll leave you there. The problem is that there's an expense associated with that. We discount that expense by 50%. If we give you medical interventions or treatments and then you don't go to the hospital, we will discount that. I normally encourage people just to go to the hospital just to be safe. Had my share of cases where we've treated in place and convinced the person to go to the hospital and got there and there were secondary problems and we were happy we went. So that's the membership. You're more than welcome to fill one out today. Send it back with me if you're interested. You also can take it home with you and read it, think about it. There's a few options. One, you can mail it in to us. We will then process it, send you a receipt. You can just call me and I'll help you sign up for it. I'll do it myself with you while we're on the phone together. Or you can go online to smackus.org and you can sign up for it right there online, do it yourself. They do take debit cards, and you get that signed up and you're ready to go in a couple of minutes. So that's the membership. Is there any questions about this right now? Yes, sir.
Is that per year?
That's per year, $45 per year, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Is it just, the discount, is it for like just the seniors, or can anybody use that?
Anybody can use this.
Okay, I mean, like, if a household, if they, just a young family that,
Yep,
okay.
yep. Any age group. It's very popular with seniors, but
Okay.
anybody can use it.
It doesn't cover it like if you've got company and they come in and they have an episode and they come and check on them, is that covered?
No,
Okay.
no.
Just people actually.
Just, right. And just to be very clear, you don't need this to get ambulance service. There's been a few times over the years where somebody's had the impression that you need the membership to be able to call them. That's not the case at all. This is just a discount program for the ambulance service. So, all right. Yes,
You cover Cass and Darien both, right?
we cover 3 townships in Cass: Milton Township, Howard Township, and part of Waukegan Township.
And does it matter where the person is, if they're a member when they call, like if they're, I mean, as
Get a
long
friend's
as it's
house.
local?
As long as it's local, right? If it's in our response area. The other thing too is that sometimes, it's not very often, but sometimes everybody needs an ambulance at once. All of our ambulances get used up and we call for mutual aid from somebody else. And if they come in and you're a member, you get a bill from them, you just need to call me and I'll get with them and work it out and take care of it, because you should have gotten that discount because you are a member. So, yeah, that's called mutual aid, and we all do it. It's, we go in and help Medic One and other ambulance services, and they come in and help us just handle those crazy spikes that happen every now and then. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Now, you're covered like if you're gonna go to South Bend Hospital?
Yeah.
You don't have to be in Berrien County or Cass County to go to their hospitals, you can go out of state then, over
Yeah.
to Indiana.
Yeah, we take a lot of people to Memorial,
Yeah.
St. Joe. Yeah, that's a great question. It just needs to originate here.
Okay,
And even if, like, say you're there and the hospital says, we need you to go over to this other place by ambulance, you can tell them I'm a SMACUS member, and we can come down and take care of that trip too. Okay. Any other questions on the membership?
Sounds pretty easy.
It's very simple.
I have, and it's
Yes.
very good.
Oh, good.
I've had it quite a few years now.
Yes, and once you have this membership, if you ever have any questions, say maybe you get a bill in the mail and you want to, talk to somebody about why that is. Sometimes our billing department misses the fact that somebody's a member. They access our membership program and they cross-reference it, but little things happen now and then. You just got to call me. I get it straightened out for you. And I try to be very accessible in that. It's important that you, as members, that you get good service. All right, let's talk about these. These are very important. These are called Files of Life. It's a refrigerator magnet on the back. I know that most refrigerators now, for some reason, magnets don't stick to the front of them, but someplace magnetic that's out in a prominent place. And on the inside of it is an information sheet for you. It includes like all your emergency contact information, your medications, any medical history that's important, insurance information if you have it, those types of things. What this does for you is if we show up to your house and you can't speak for yourself, it gives us very rapid access to the information we need to take care of you. So I brought plenty of these along today. what I recommend is you take one for everybody in your household. You write your name across the top of it right here so that when we see 4 or 5 of these, we know which one we're looking for. And this will provide us with rapid information, anything that we need while we're there at your house taking care of you. Even if you are conscious, and sometimes emergency situations are very stressful and it's hard to remember all those details. And so these are very, very useful for us. They help us get to the root of the problem a lot of times very quickly. Also have them for your wallet or your purse. So you are welcome to take as many as you need. I encourage you to. We'll even leave some here today so that folks can access those as they go. All right. Those are the 3 things I wanted to share with you today. Is there anything anybody in particular wants to talk about regarding SMACUS right now? I can share stories with you, tell you what happened there. Is there any questions anybody has specifically about SMACUS?
Why, I live in an apartment complex, and yesterday there were 2 ambulances that came. So, do you know, I don't know what happened, but what might there be an instance of that?
When 2 show up?
Yeah.
So, if somebody is very, very, very sick, the dispatcher, our 911 dispatchers are trained to determine what the situation is probably happening at that given location. And if they report somebody that's very, very sick, somebody that's in cardiac arrest, somebody that is likely to go into cardiac arrest, they're very, very sick, at that time, we will respond with 2 rigs because 2 paramedics can manage a critical patient like that, but it's much better to have more paramedics at that scene. The other scenario could be, what time of day was that yesterday?
Around sun.
Okay, yeah. So that's another scenario where we had a shift captain on duty, and that shift captain was just in an ambulance by themselves going out, and we're doing something we call an echo response. They will go out to the scene, and they'll, if they're closer, they'll stabilize the scene, and then a transporting crew will come in and take care of the patient. Yeah. Yes?
Do you recognize the ICE app
The ICE app.
in case of emergency? That pops up on my phone,
Does it?
and it has all the information you need, allergies, this kind of stuff.
That's you know what, that's something we should look into. I know that, I think I've heard of this before, but I don't think we've done any formal training locally on that particular app for our medics. We should probably. Any other questions? So I want to tell you about something exciting that happened last year. It wasn't really exciting, but it was pretty remarkable. At the beginning of the, well, towards the end of the pandemic, last summer, around July, the state EMS medical director contacted me and said, "Hey, how do you feel about monoclonal antibody infusions?" I didn't know what they were at that point. I'd heard of antibody. They were using antibodies as a theoretical treatment for COVID, and I was interested in whatever it was he had to say, but it turns out there was this new medication, monoclonal antibody infusions. You heard of Regeneron, and then the rest of them have horrible names like bamlanivimab, casirivimab. I mean, they're just sotrovimab. I don't know who named these medications, but they didn't want anybody to say them. I can say that. So there was a shortage of infusion clinics where these medications could be given. It was very hard for people to get in and get these treatments. And the problem was their effectiveness was most effective during the first 24 to 48 hours after diagnosis. It's kind of like, I would compare it to like a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. Much more effective when the pan catches fire than when the whole house is on fire. So the sooner you get these monoclonal antibodies on board, the better people do. And the problem was the infusion clinics were 1 week out, 2 week out. They were having trouble getting people in. And so we said, yeah, we'll do these. Our game plan was, what the state was envisioning was that we would load these up on our ambulance, and if somebody needed infusion, do the infusion at their house. And we did, we were doing about 3 to 6 a month when we started doing that, just traveling to people's houses. And then one day, just by chance, somebody wanted the infusion, and we said, well, we just don't have a way to come to your house and do this infusion. And they said, what if I drive my husband there and you do it in your parking lot? And I have a good reason to say no to that, so yeah, come on out. So we did it. It was fabulous. First paramedics starting IVs in cars is kind of what we do. So it worked out really, really well, even though I was skeptical. So I called the state medical director and I said, we just did this monoclonal antibody infusion in a car. I know it sounds crazy, but I think this is the answer to doing more of these. So he loved it. He encouraged us to try it more. So we actually opened up one of our bays in the ambulance station, our drive-through. And so we opened up one of those bays. It's a 3-car bay. And we would bring people in one side. We'd do 2 or 3 at a time. We'd start these infusions, and then we would send them on their way. And we started doing, 10, 12 a week. The numbers started picking up. And then that Delta variant hit. Remember Delta? Delta was rough. And when Delta hit, all of a sudden, the floodgates opened, and all of a sudden we were doing 6 or 7 a day, which, these infusions take a while. They're 30 minutes, then you have to observe the person for an hour. And so I was pretty proud of that. And I called the state medical director and said, look, we're doing this now, and we're doing like 6 a day. It's amazing. And he said, that's great. I need you to find a way to do about 30 a day. And Bill Fales, we've been friends for years, but I've learned one thing about him. If you give him something good, he will want something impossible. So I was like, what is wrong with you? And we hung up. And I went back to work the next day, and I told my crews, I was like, you're not going to believe what Bill Fales said. This is being recorded, isn't it? You're not going to believe what Bill Fales says. He wants us to do 30 of these infusions a day. And a couple of people said that's impossible, can't be done. And then one of my more senior medics came up to me and said, you know what, actually I think we can do it. And this is when being a leader, the most important thing you can do most of the time is listen. So I listened to him. I said, okay, tell me how you would do that. And he sketched it out, diagrammed it out, and I said, okay, let's give it a try. So a couple of days later, we gave it a whirl. Worked like a charm. Before you knew it, we were doing about 30 infusions a day. There would be 3 ambulance bays open, cars coming through nonstop, lined up around the building, and we'd have 2 medics and 2 EMTs running these infusion clinics. You would see IV poles sticking up all over the place, people getting the infusion itself, and then they would go out into a parking lot on the other side, and we would observe them for an hour and then send them on their way. This was so new and so remarkable and so revolutionary that the state of Michigan actually was inviting us to their meetings to tell hospitals how we were doing this, because nobody could understand how we were doing so many infusions in a day with being a little, small ambulance service, really small compared to hospitals, you know, like Ann Arbor and the like. So, it really went crazy to the point where we were doing about 600 infusions a month. At the end of it, we did well over 1,500 infusions, and then all of a sudden it just stopped because if you recall, Omicron came around after Delta. Omicron was receptive to one monoclonal infusion. It's called citrizumab. We didn't have very many doses of that, and so even though we had hundreds and hundreds of the bamlivibab and the casirivimab and the, I don't know why they didn't name them all something like Regeneron, but we had lots of those doses. None of those worked on Omicron, so all of a sudden it just died out. And then along came the oral medications, which replaced the need for the monoclonal antibodies, and that's where we're at today. It was a great adventure for us. Our medics were effectively working their full-time job as a paramedic, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and then they were putting in the time doing the infusion clinic as well at the end of that. So it was very rewarding, and we had to hire additional office staff to handle the intake and the like. And we would do surveys every day for folks that had had their infusion within 48 hours. We would call those folks, and 95% of those people were reporting feeling tremendously better, just much, much better than they were prior to the infusion. So we know that we reduced a lot of suffering. The studies themselves show that monoclonal antibodies are 70% effective at keeping people out of the hospital. We know that we saved our healthcare system a tremendous amount of work and admissions and the like. And then they don't have a number for the total number of vet patients it would reduce, but we know that we reduced suffering for hundreds and hundreds of people. It was very, very rewarding. Kind of an interesting place. We found Omicron being politicized, and I'm not going to talk about that part today, but that those 3 bays with so many diametrically opposed political views that somehow couldn't be avoided while people were doing infusions was a pretty remarkable thing to observe. But in the end, we feel very rewarded. We're proud of that. The state of Michigan has recognized us for what we've done. And our operations manager, Josh Kay, was nominated and awarded the Michigan EMS Practitioner of the Year. This is one person in the state gets this award, and it's Josh Kay. Josh probably did the lion's share of those infusions through that time frame. So very, very impressive. All right. Is there any other questions for me? Anything else I can talk about that Jill?
How long have you been with the SMACUS?
I've been here since 2014. I was born down here. I was born in Powhatan Hospital.
Oh.
When I grew up, I went to Kalamazoo and worked as a paramedic there for about 26 years. And I heard about this opening down here in my birth city, and I was kind of excited about it, actually. Paramedics, my mom just north of here in Berrien Springs almost died. Paramedics showed up and saved her life at home. She had a ruptured spleen. She almost died. Paramedics were the ones that detected it, got her into the ER, and I was only 12 at that time. But
wow.
I decided then and there that was the thing I was going to do with the rest of my life, because I couldn't think of anything more important that somebody could do than get their mom, save their mom's life. And so when I when I graduated high school, I went right into the paramedic academy, and I have been doing that ever since. All of my adult life, I've been a paramedic.
Well, thank you for what you do.
Thanks. And the good thing is I've had the chance to pay a lot of that back over the years. So I think a few years back I got a Christmas card from two little boys that said, "Thank you for our mommy." And yeah, still get teared up a little bit when I think about that card. 'Cause
Definitely.
that was kind of felt like my career had come full circle from my childhood at that point. Yes.
On your membership,
Yes.
are there cases where you are gonna be charging people for things
There,
above and beyond?
yeah, so for wheelchair van service, there's still a charge, there's a discount for it, but there's still a charge.
I'm not talking about that,
Yeah.
I was talking about for emergency transport.
So trying to think of the incidents where you might get charged. So if we don't transport, obviously, there's a charge for that. If the individual does not have insurance of any kind, we'll charge a flat $200 rate to that person, which is about a 90% discount on the call. That's only if the person has no form of insurance whatsoever. Why are you aware of any?
No, we were looking at that and saw, it looked like there was a charge for something and because I was trying to encourage someone else
Yeah.
to get that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I looked it over and I'm gonna still be charged this much and such and such, and I was like, well, I don't know, I'll have to see if I can find out.
No, especially if you have Medicare, you're good. You're not gonna be charged for any kind of medical transportation. There is a caveat on there that says medically necessary. So if you wanted to use an ambulance to go grocery shopping, then I wouldn't recommend that, by the way. Groceries are really expensive. But
Might
that,
be cheaper than gas.
yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, my gas bill went from about $60,000 a year last year to we're pacing at about $160,000 this year, so. Yeah, and as things get busier, obviously we burn more fuel and it's more and more expensive. Fortunately, we are doing great. We're not suffering necessarily at this point, but we are having to look at the fact that our budgets need to be adjusted and changed around. Yes.
You just made a statement that if you have Medicare, you're not going to be charged for transportation. A few months ago, I got hurt at the Y in Niles, and I was taken from the Y in Niles to Lakeland, and then later received a bill. The bill did not go through Medicare, apparently. I don't know where it went to be that I was being picked up at the Y, taken to the hospital, and then recently I got a bill for $315 in that ride, which on the bill says that the ride was like $700 or something.
Come, give me your contact information after this. If you happen to have that run number, I'll dig into it, figure out what's going on there.
Well, I don't have it with me here, but I have a copy of it.
Yeah, what I really would just need is your name and your date of birth, and I can get it all pulled up. And then, of course, if you were incorrectly billed, I will deal with it. I'll take care of it.
Thank you. I did take the bill back to the Y, and I love the Y, and I'm not putting them down, people, it's a good place to go. But, one of the gentlemen that does work in the office made a statement to somebody else, which shouldn't have done it publicly. He said, this is why people don't want to call the ambulance.
Oh, because of the cost?
And I didn't understand that until after that bill came. And you making that statement that if you're on Medicare.
If you're on Medicare and you have a membership, that was what I was saying, was that is a form of insurance.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And I do.
Right.
So,
Right.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll take care of it. Every now and then I run into those. I came across one the other day where somebody had been paying these $12 bills for months. And I caught it and said, why are you paying these? He said, well, go to the bill. And I said, but you remember. Well, I didn't know. So I had to add them all up and we had to issue a reimbursement check to that individual.
How are you funded then, that you're able to offer this?
This is a great question. So the write-offs, generally, the write-offs and the revenue generated by the membership generally are very, very close. It's probably a break even for us on the write-offs and the money that comes in through the memberships. So for us, it's a community service thing. It gives people a safety net.
But you're funded through tax dollars, right?
Well, yeah, I'm getting to that. So, SMACUS bills out about $5.2 billion a year for fee-for-service transport. So if we transport you, we send a bill out. Those bills amount to about $5.2 million. We collect roughly 41 to 45% of that. We only collect about 2.2 to 2.3 million dollars in actual revenue that comes back from those fee-for-service. So that is about 81% of our budget. And 19% of our budget comes from a tax subsidy. So when you get done paying the crews, buying the ambulances, and doing all of that stuff, our annual operating expense is about $2.77 million a year. So we're about 500,000 short every year for. So that's what the subsidy comes to, is to cover that.
Who pays the subsidy?
The municipalities, there's a $20 per parcel fee right now. We're actually talking about that increasing to $30.
So that's the tax part of it.
Yeah. So you can figure, I like easy math, so I do the easy math. Basically, for every dollar on the parcel assessment, it equals about 1% of our budget, that dollar. So.
My sister did get the infusion last summer.
Oh,
One of my
how did
sisters.
she do?
Well, I don't know, I had 3 sisters that had COVID, and all 3 of them were not hospitalized. And all 3 of them were sick with the dog. So I don't know that it did any better, but
Yeah.
she didn't have to be hospitalized.
So I lost my uncle in the middle of this pandemic, and it was frustrating for me because we were running this full-blown, by the time he got COVID, we were running this massive clinic. I found out about a week and a half after he got it that he had it. You know, by then it doesn't really work as well, and I was very frustrated. I said, why didn't y'all just call me when this started? Well, we figured you were busy, and we heard that everybody was full, and like, we rushed him in as fast as we could, but we didn't get to him soon enough. So that was a rather painful experience. So my favorite experience was, this was towards the end of all of it, and it was on Saturday or Sunday. I really didn't have anybody scheduled to come in and do these, so this lady was very, very sick. So I said, just come in, I'll do this one. Brought her in, and she looked absolutely horrible. I was able to push some medications to get her nausea and everything going. She felt better. Did the infusion. She woke up the next day. Never went. She felt 100% better, and everything was great. And that was my favorite story, because she literally looked better before she left the ambulance bay, and never went back to sick again. bet, so. Mhm. Anything else for me right now? I want to thank you all for having me here. I'm going to leave these up here for anybody that wants to take a look at one. You're welcome to fill them out today and hand them to me, or to send them in via mail, or to log in to our website and sign up, or you can just call me, use extension 10, and I will help you get set up on it. Also, we have these up here. There's plenty more, so feel free to take as many as you need. And I will be up here to answer any questions you want to ask me in private or one-on-one.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.